Have you ever given 3 years of your life to someone only for them to walk away right when you were finally about to build something for yourself? That was Rachel's reality. Rachel sat on the edge of her bed staring into the darkness. She was tired of crying. Kenny was gone. After 3 years together, the man she thought she was building a future with had told her he was going back to his baby mama. Just like that. 3 years of love, 3 years of arguments, 3 years of making sacrifices. 3 years of Rachel believing that if she just loved him a little harder, supported him a little more, and gave him a little more time, eventually everything would work out. But it never did. The truth was, their relationship had been falling apart for months. Rachel and her best friend Liza had started a cosmetic and beauty company together. What started as two friends sitting around talking about ideas had slowly become something real. They had products, packaging, a logo, inventory, and tomorrow they were holding their first major pop-up shop. Rachel had started putting almost every extra dollar she had into the company. That became a problem for Kenny. For years, Rachel had helped him whenever he needed something. If he was short, Rachel helped. If he had a problem, Rachel helped. If he needed money, somehow Rachel found it. But once the business became serious, Rachel couldn't keep doing that. Kenny didn't understand why she had money for inventory but didn't have money for him. Rachel tried to explain that she was building something. Kenny saw it differently. The arguments became worse. Then finally he told her he was done. He was going back to his baby mama. Now Rachel sat surrounded by boxes carrying the name of a company she was supposed to be excited about. But she felt empty. Her phone rang. Liza. Rachel ignored it. A few seconds later it rang again. She ignored that one too. Then came a knock at the door. Rachel didn't move. The knocking became louder. "Rachel!" Rachel closed her eyes. Of course it was Liza. A few minutes later, Liza walked into the bedroom and stopped when she saw her best friend sitting in the dark. She didn't tell Rachel she told her so. She didn't say she never liked Kenny. She didn't say Rachel should have left him a long time ago. She simply sat beside her. That was what Liza had done for 3 years. Every argument between Rachel and Kenny somehow became part of Liza's life too. She had answered the phone at 1 in the morning. She had listened while Rachel cried. She had watched Rachel give Kenny money she really couldn't afford to give him. She had watched Rachel defend him when everybody else could see what was happening. There were nights Liza wanted to scream at her. There were times she wanted to grab Rachel and tell her to wake up. But she knew her best friend. Rachel had to reach that point on her own. So Liza stayed. When Rachel hurt, Liza hurt with her. And tonight was no different. Rachel finally broke down. "I wasted 3 years of my life." Liza wrapped her arms around her. "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did." Rachel wiped her face. "I gave that man everything." "I know." "I helped him with everything, Liza. And the minute I started trying to do something for myself," her voice cracked, "he left." Liza held her tighter. "Then let him leave." Rachel looked at her. "I know that hurts right now, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to cry. Cry. Be mad. Be hurt." Liza pointed toward the boxes around the room. "But he doesn't get that too." Rachel looked around. "Tomorrow is our day, yours and mine. We worked too hard for this. I don't even want to go." "Good thing you ain't got a choice." Rachel looked at her. Liza stood. "Get dressed." "For what?" "We're going out." "Liza." "Rachel." "I'm not going to a club." "Yes, you are." For the first time that night, Rachel almost smiled. Club space was packed. The music was loud. The girls were dancing. For the first hour, Rachel barely moved. Then one of her friends pulled her onto the dance floor. Liza refused to let her sit back down. Eventually, Rachel started moving. Then she started laughing. For a few hours, Kenny didn't exist. There were no arguments, no breakup, no 3 years to think about. Rachel danced with her girls. She laughed. She joked. She felt like herself again. When the club finally closed, Rachel and Liza walked through the parking lot toward the car. Then someone called her name. "Rachel!" She stopped. A man came jogging toward them. Rachel stared at him for a second. Then she smiled. "Tez?" Tez laughed and opened his arms. "What's up?" Rachel hugged him. Then Tez immediately turned toward Liza. "Liza, look at you!" They hugged too. The three of them had gone to high school together. Back then, Tez was just Tez. Now he was grown, serving in the army and home visiting before he had to return to Fort Benning. They stood in the parking lot laughing about old classmates and old memories. For Rachel, it felt good. It was familiar. Safe. Tez asked what the women had been doing. Liza smiled proudly. We got our own business now. For real. Rachel nodded. Cosmetics and beauty products. We have a pop-up tomorrow. Tez smiled. That's what's up. Congratulations to both of y'all. They talked for another few minutes. Then Tez looked at Rachel. Let me get your number. Rachel's smile changed. She looked at Liza. Liza raised her eyebrows. Rachel turned back toward Tez. Tez, I don't have time for your games. Tez laughed. Who said I was playing? I'm serious. So am I. Rachel hesitated. She had just gotten out of one relationship. The last thing she needed was another man. But she gave him her number. As they walked toward the car, Liza looked at her. Rachel immediately pointed at her. Don't. I didn't say anything. I know that face. Liza laughed. I'm just saying, I remember Tez. So? He was always cool. Liza. Okay, I'm done. The next morning, Rachel woke up and reached for her phone. There was a text waiting. Good luck today. Y'all are gonna kill it. Tez. Rachel smiled. Liza walked into the room carrying supplies. Who got you smiling? Nobody. Nobody texting early. Rachel rolled her eyes. Can we work? Liza laughed. Absolutely, boss. The pop-up shop was better than either of them imagined. Customers packed the space. Women tested products. People took pictures in front of their backdrop. Rachel and Liza barely had time to breathe. Products were disappearing from the tables. For the first time, they could see that their dream might actually work. Then Rachel looked toward the entrance. Tez walked in. Liza saw him at the same time. She smiled. Tez walked over to their table. I got a question. Rachel folded her arms. What's that? Y'all got anything for men? Liza turned away and pumped her fist. Rachel saw her. Liza. What? Tez laughed. He bought several products. He didn't ask for a discount. He didn't ask Rachel to give him anything. He paid. Then he hugged Liza. I'm proud of y'all. Thank you. He turned toward Rachel. Call me when you're done. I will. After he walked away, Liza moved beside Rachel. Okay. Rachel looked at her. Okay, what? I didn't say anything. Liza. I'm just saying. What? Liza shrugged. Kenny never came to one event. Rachel became quiet. Liza immediately regretted saying it. Rach, I'm sorry. Rachel shook her head. No. She watched Tez disappear into the crowd. You're right. Liza put her arm around her. Come on, we got a business to run. Over the next several weeks, Tez kept calling, and Rachel kept answering. There were no games, no disappearing for days, no asking her for money, no arguments about her business. Sometimes they talked for hours. Other times, Tez called just to ask how her day went. He asked about Rachel. He asked about Liza. He asked about the company. Rachel slowly started opening up. Eventually, she told him about Kenny. Tez listened. He didn't tell her she was stupid for staying. He didn't criticize her. He didn't try to convince her that he was better. He just listened. Liza noticed the difference. For 3 years, Rachel's late-night calls had usually meant something was wrong. Now, sometimes Liza called and got sent to voicemail. A few minutes later, Rachel would call back. Sorry, I was talking to Tez. Liza would laugh. Of course you were. But Liza wasn't ready to completely trust it yet. She knew Tez. They had all grown up together. She liked him. But Rachel was her best friend. And Liza had spent 3 years helping put Rachel back together every time Kenny hurt her. One afternoon, Rachel went inside while Tez and Liza remained outside. Liza looked at him. You serious about her? Tez looked over. What? You heard me. His smile faded. Yeah. I'm not talking about y'all talking on the phone every night. I'm asking if you're serious about Rachel. I am. Liza studied him. I'm telling you this because you're my friend too. Tez nodded. Rachel went through a lot with Kenny. More than she probably told you. Tez remained quiet. I was there for the calls. I was there when she cried. I watched her give that man her last and then try to figure out how she was going to handle her own stuff. Liza shook her head. I watched my best friend lose pieces of herself trying to keep that relationship together. Tez looked toward the house. So if you're just having fun, tell her now. I'm not. Liza waited. Tez looked at her. I'm not trying to save Rachel, Liza. That caught her attention. She doesn't need me to save her. She got you. She got this business. She got her own dreams. He paused. I like her. I respect her. And I want to see where this goes. Liza smiled. Okay. That's it? That's it. Tez laughed. Liza started walking away. Then she turned around. But if you hurt my friend, we're going to forget we went to school together. There she go. I'm serious. I know. Rachel walked outside. She looked between them. What were y'all talking about? Nothing, they said together. Rachel narrowed her eyes. Whatever. Liza watched Rachel walk over to Tez, and for the first time, she allowed herself to support what was happening, not because Rachel needed a man, but because Liza could see that Tez wasn't trying to take over Rachel's life. He was simply finding his place in the life Rachel was already building. The night before Tez returned to Fort Benning, he and Rachel stood outside underneath the moonlight. Rachel leaned against him. Neither wanted the night to end. Finally, Rachel spoke. I'm scared. Tez looked at her. Of me? No. She paused. That's the problem. Tez waited. I'm starting to really like you. He smiled slightly. Rachel didn't. I gave somebody 3 years of my life, Tez. I know. I don't know if I can do that again. Tez took her hand. I'm not asking you for 3 years. Rachel looked at him. Give me tomorrow. She smiled. And then? We figure out the day after that. Rachel laughed. Tez leaned forward and kissed her. When they separated, he looked into her eyes. I can't promise I'll be perfect. Rachel listened. But I can promise I'll be honest with you. And I'll do everything I can to make you happy. Rachel kissed him again. Back home, Rachel and Liza went right back to work. The pop-up had proven there was a market for their products. Now they needed to get their online store running, but they hit a wall. Money. They had spent almost everything on inventory, packaging, and the pop-up. One night, Rachel mentioned it while talking to Tez. We'll figure it out. Me and Liza always do. She wasn't asking him for anything. They continued talking. Eventually, they said goodnight. A few seconds after hanging up, Rachel's phone chimed. Cash app. $1,000. Rachel stared at the screen, then immediately called Tez. Why did you send me $1,000? Because y'all need to finish the website. Tez, I wasn't asking you for money. I know. Then why? Because I believe in y'all. Rachel became quiet. I've watched you and Liza work. I see what y'all are trying to build. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. Finish the website. The next morning, Rachel showed Liza. Liza stared at the notification. He sent you $1,000? Yeah. For the business? Rachel nodded. Liza slowly smiled. Okay, Tez. Rachel laughed. What? I said okay, Tez. The two women hugged. It wasn't about a man rescuing them. Rachel and Liza had already built something. Tez simply believed enough in their dream to invest in it. The website launched. Orders started coming. 1 became 10, 10 became 50. Soon their workspace was surrounded by boxes. Rachel and Liza screamed when they saw their sales numbers. They hugged, they cried, because before Kenny, before Tez, before anybody else, there had been Rachel and Liza, two best friends with an idea. Now that idea was becoming a company. Tez kept his promise. He flew Rachel out to spend time with him. Their relationship continued to grow. So did the friendship between all three of them. Sometimes Tez would FaceTime Rachel and spend half the conversation arguing with Liza about something they remembered from high school. Rachel would sit there laughing. Her worlds weren't competing with each other. They were coming together. There was friendship. There was peace. And eventually, there was love. A month after Rachel returned home, she stood in her bathroom staring at 2 lines on a pregnancy test. Her hands shook. She sat on the edge of the bathtub. Then she grabbed her phone. The first person she called was Liza. Hello? Liza. Something in Rachel's voice immediately got her attention. What happened? I'm pregnant. Silence. Then, what? Rachel started laughing through her tears. Girl, I don't know what to do. First, breathe! Liza was screaming and crying at the same time. I'm gonna be an auntie, Rachel laughed. You gotta let me tell Tez first. Oh, right, Rachel called Tez. When she told him, there was silence. Tez, I'm here. Say something. We're having a baby? Rachel smiled. Yeah. Tez started laughing. We're having a baby. Rachel covered her face and cried, but this time they were happy tears. The following weekend, Tez gathered their closest friends for dinner. Rachel thought they were celebrating the pregnancy. Liza knew better. Tez had already called her because if he was going to do this, he wanted Rachel's best friend involved. Halfway through dinner, Tez stood. Rachel looked confused. Then he dropped to one knee. Rachel covered her mouth. Liza was already crying. Tez looked up at Rachel. I told you I wasn't playing games. Everyone laughed. Then Tez became serious. You gave me a chance when you didn't believe in love anymore. Rachel started crying. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing everything I can to make sure you never regret giving me that chance. He opened the ring box. Rachel, will you marry me? Yes, everyone erupted. Tez placed the ring on her finger. Liza rushed toward them and wrapped both of them in a hug. She looked at Tez. You did good. Tez laughed. So I finally passed? Don't push it. 6 months later, Rachel and Tez stood together in front of their closest friends and family. Their wedding was small, intimate, exactly what they wanted. Liza stood beside Rachel. The same woman who sat beside her in that dark bedroom months earlier now stood beside her as Rachel married the man she loved. When Rachel looked at her, Liza was already crying. Rachel whispered, Stop, Liza whispered back. You stop. They both laughed. 2 months later, everything changed again. Raven Marie, 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Pure love. Rachel lay in the hospital bed holding her daughter. Tez sat beside her, unable to stop smiling. There was a knock at the door. Liza walked in. The second she saw the baby, she covered her mouth. Oh my God, Rachel smiled. Come here. Liza approached the bed. Rachel carefully placed Raven into her arms. Liza looked down at her. Hey, pretty girl. Tears filled her eyes. Rachel watched her best friend holding her daughter. You know you're her godmother, right? Liza looked up. No. She looked back at Raven. Please, this my baby too. Rachel laughed. Tez shook his head. I already knew I wasn't going to have no say in this. Nope, Liza answered. The three of them laughed. Liza kissed Raven's forehead. She had held Rachel when her world fell apart. Now she was holding Rachel's daughter as an entirely new world began. A few weeks later, morning sunlight poured through the bedroom window. Rachel sat quietly holding Raven Marie. Across the room, Tez buttoned his army uniform. Rachel watched her husband get ready for work. Her phone buzzed beside her. A text from Liza. What time am I coming to get my godbaby? Rachel laughed. Tez looked over. Liza? Who else? Tez shook his head. I knew we should have never made her godmother. Rachel laughed. You know you love her? Sometimes. Tez walked over. He kissed Raven gently on the forehead. Then he kissed Rachel. I'll see y'all later. He grabbed his things and headed toward the door. Tez. He stopped, turned around. Yeah? Rachel looked at him. Thank you. Tez smiled. For what? Rachel looked down at Raven, then back at her husband. She smiled. She didn't answer. Because there wasn't just one thing she was thanking him for. She was thankful for his patience, his friendship, his support, his love. But most importantly, Rachel was thankful that when she was ready to give up on love, Tez showed her that real love wasn't supposed to cost her who she was. A year earlier, Rachel sat alone in a dark bedroom believing 3 years of her life had been wasted. But she hadn't been alone. Liza had been there. She was there when Rachel cried. She was there when Rachel started rebuilding. She was there when their business became more than a dream. And when Tez came into Rachel's life, he never tried to replace the people who already loved her. He joined them. Rachel looked toward the sunlight pouring through the window. Her business was growing. Her best friend was still beside her. Her husband loved her. And Raven Marie was sleeping peacefully in her arms. Kenny walking away hadn't destroyed Rachel's future. It forced her to finally see that the life she was fighting to hold on to wasn't the life meant for her. Sometimes the person walking out of your life isn't taking your future with them. Sometimes they're simply making room for it. Rachel kissed Raven's forehead. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of what came next. She was ready for it. I hope you enjoyed this story. For more stories like this, make sure you go to the WriteCity YouTube channel and TikTok page. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a single story by Blitz Santiago. We'll see you in the next one.